All right. Welcome back to the second episode of the IceMac MMA podcast. I'm Alex Eisman.
And I'm Jackson McCarty.
And, wow, man. We had a insane fight card on Saturday. I'm still, in disbelief over some of these fights. But at the beginning of the segment, or of the show, rather, I want to put my hand up and give you some credit. You did edge me out on picks.
I did.
On Saturday.
I did.
You were 5-4. I was 4-5.
Man,
so.
and I did mention that I was thinking about Sean. If I would have just pulled the trigger on that, that would have been elite.
Insane.
That would have been elite.
That would have been insane.
Now, and that is the first fight I want to talk about here.
Okay,
because
let's go for it. Let's jump right in.
That was by far, if anybody is looking up MMA podcasts, it is to hear about that fight.
Yeah.
Because that was absurd. A lot of people are saying that Jan, I've seen clearly won. He did not clearly win anything. Personally, it's damage done. Sean did more damage than third in the first.
I am one of those people who thinks Jan won. I think it was a clear 29-28 win for him. And listen, I saw a thread on Twitter of probably 25 to 30 UFC fighters saying that Jan won.
And that's fine to think he won. I just don't see that I didn't see it being clear.
No, it was not a 30-27 victory.
No.
But I think it was decisive.
I
think
think
it was a 29-28 win.
I even think split decision made sense. Because it depends all on if you weigh in damage done, which I do think Sean did a fair bit more damage, or if you want to add those takedowns and what they really accounted to. I only think about 2 of those really accounted to anything, is my problem.
I think outside of the third round, they both landed big shots on each other, right?
Yes.
Because we were watching.
Yeah, and it felt like Piotr came back with more after Sean.
Yeah.
Sean would have good volume, but Piotr might have something that he just kind of unleashes.
But the thing is, and Piotr Jan mixed in the wrestling, I think he took Sean down 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I want to say 6, right? And it was for 4 or 5 minutes of control time.
Yeah, and I mean, that still counts for something. It's mixed martial arts. It's not striking. It's not a boxing match. So I think that Sean probably won the third round just because he hit that knee that cut open Peter pretty bad. But the first 2, I feel like, were just Piotr Jan did more. He was more active in those rounds all around.
And yeah, absolutely. I agree with the takedown thing to a certain extent because, and I'm going to put it in football terms here because I think that could be something that kind of helps, explain how I'm seeing this. Think of a receiver catching the football.
Right.
They've got possession of the ball.
Right.
But they don't move at all. They sit on the 50-yard line and they just wait for defenders to come at them and they just see how much time they can get with the ball. That's what some of those takedowns felt like. Some of them did feel like it was a receiver catching the ball and running with it, doing some damage while having possession of the ball, but a lot of it felt like useless receptions, if you will. It didn't feel like it was accounting to a whole lot. It just felt like it was, I want to get these numbers built up more than it did, I'm trying to do damage to my opponent.
I guess. I mean, yeah, when you have 5 or 6 takedowns, I'm sure some of them are going to be more for scoring wise, but
yeah.
there still were a couple where he was getting some good G&P in on.
Absolutely, he got him down. I believe it was the second round where he really
the second round
his G&P was he had it.
Yeah.
It was clear that he was going for damage, but every time he tried to take him down in the third, it felt like I don't want to be striking with this guy anymore. Let's get to the ground. And in the first, it was a kind of a similar thing. Just let's get him tired as opposed to let's get him hurt. So. And funny thing is, we were watching this fight together. Was this the last fight I got to watch before I left?
Yeah.
So I had to go to work, obviously, so I didn't get to watch Aljo or Islam's fight here, but we did watch the Suga fight, and at the end of the third, I told you there was a case to be made that Sean won that fight. I didn't think he'd come out on the scorecard. Yes, I did not think he was coming out on the scorecard with it, but I did think that he did more damage done, and it's a fun one. I find it really interesting that he is now the number 1 contender in that weight class.
Yeah. Listen, I said last week that I think Piotr Jan is the best fighter in the Bantamweight division. That doesn't really change how I feel after that fight, especially because I'm not alone in thinking that he probably should have won. But even with that said, at the end of that fight, you and I were talking before the scorecards were read, and we were both like, regardless of what happened, Sean O'Malley is a top 5 guy in the bantamweight division.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally agree, after that display even more so, that Petr Yan, you put him up against a random fighter in that division, he's going to have the best chance to win because of how good he can be on the feet and how good he is on the ground. He is so well balanced. He is poised. That said, Sean's length did end up giving him some problems. Totally. And, that kind of revealed something that we didn't quite see against him and Sandhagen.
Right.
Like, it's all just very interesting on how that all fell out.
Yeah, again, and we said Sean is more explosive than Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah.
For sure. But now I want to ask, what do you think is next? Who is the next challenger for Aljamain Sterling? Let's get into his fight first, and then we'll talk about it. Because we're going into 2 bantamweight fights, so might as well talk about that. This one kind of was a bit of a letdown, to be honest.
Yes.
Because,
TJ's shoulder came unglued.
TJ's shoulder was not right. I don't really know how that happens. You allow him to fight.
Did you see where he apologized to the division because he was going in hurt?
Yeah.
Like that.
That was kind of disappointing.
For one, don't apologize. Just don't take that fight if you're not actually prepared for it. You just gave Aljamain a free ruby for no reason.
Right. And I mean, you gotta give Aljo credit. Like, it's not his fault that TJ came in hurt. Aljo went in and
fight what's across from you in the cage.
Yeah, like he did what he needed to do, and like that's really all there needs to be said, right?
Right. Like it wasn't the type of display that I think most of us wanted to see from either one of these guys. You wanted to see a fight that was both guys healthy. You wanted to see a fight where one guy had to beat the other one. TJ had already beaten himself before he came in there. He allowed himself to step into the octagon hurt, knew he was going to lose that fight because, I mean, his shoulder quite literally was hanging off the bone as soon as it started. Well, it was like 15 seconds in. It was already done.
That was nasty.
Yeah.
That was gross.
And
watching them pop it back in between rounds. But one thing I will give TJ credit for is the fact that he went 4 minutes with a dangerous, one of the most dangerous wrestlers in the UFC, and
had one arm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, you can't take anything away from his toughness.
Yeah.
To be able to go in there and do that and remain confident enough to, stave him off and not get further injury, that was very impressive. But, again, don't come into the octagon if you're hurt.
Nope. So that one was kind of a letdown because I thought that was going to be a amazing fight. Yes. Obviously, a fully healthy TJ Dillashaw is a force to be reckoned with on the feet. But, again, Aljo did what he needed to do given the circumstances. And so now, I have my pick. Okay. I want to hear who you want to see Aljo fight next.
Okay. So, purely for sales and the implications of the fight, Petr Yan was going to get the next title shot if he beat Sean. That's not disputable. That was the next thing they were going to do. You can't not give it to Sean O'Malley on that principle. He beat the guy you wanted to take the next title fight. It is huge money if Sean, for one, fights in a title shot, and it is gigantic money if he wins that title shot. I think that he's got a better chance against Aljamain than he did against Petr, strictly because he's still got that length and he's got such a much larger striking advantage there.
That's true, but Aljo is a considerably better grappler than Petr Yan is, and Petr Yan took Sean down a lot. So
he did.
I think it would be super interesting to see how that plays out because I feel like the way Sean looked in that fight, Aljo might have his way with him on the ground, unless Sean really steps up his ground game.
I think his camp could be entirely takedown defense.
Yeah.
And then, some grappling in case it does have to go to it.
Yeah.
Because he could not touch a heavy bag for 3 years, and he's still about 8 tiers above Aljamain in the striking category.
Yeah, totally.
So I think if he goes into this camp, let's say he gets a 2 or 3 month camp to just fully dive in and get Cejudo or get I don't know, Bryce Mitchell or so, whoever you want to say that has a similar wrestling style to just come in and be like, look, for 3 days a week, all I want you to do is try to take my legs and I'm going to try to fight you off. Mm-hmm. I think he'd win that fight.
It would be fun. It would definitely be fun for the UFC. I would love to see it. But speaking of Henry Cejudo, that is who I want to see Aljo fight next. I watched the post-fight presser on Saturday, and Aljo talked about not being at 135 that much longer. And so I think if you want to solidify yourself as one of the greats of the Bantamweight division, Henry Cejudo he's back in the testing pool.
He is.
And Dana talked about it after the fight. Aljo talked about it after the fight. And Cejudo, I feel like, is probably the only guy at that weight class that can match Aljo on the ground.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't personally love fighters coming back from long hiatuses to get a title shot. Like, I like what they're doing with John, where they're trying to set him up in Stipe because he's been gone so long. And John is a much more prolific and much more advertisable name than Cejudo is. Mm-hmm. I don't love, and forgive me for thinking about it purely on vibes, but, Dana had an issue with Cejudo because he didn't sell.
Yeah.
I don't see him letting Cejudo take the shot first. I could see Cejudo versus TJ, and then that's an eliminator.
But Cejudo already knocked out TJ in what, like 40-some seconds?
Yeah, maybe but that's less. Also been.
It's been a couple years, but I don't know. Cejudo left the UFC as a double champ, and I feel like if he decides to come back, he's kind of owed that, It's to me, it's the same thing with TJ, where TJ never lost the belt to one man in the octagon.
Correct.
And neither did Henry Cejudo.
No.
And I feel like for Aljo personally, I feel like that would be a bigger challenge for him to have someone who is as experienced and decorated in the same area of expertise, right?
Right, but and I know this is going to sound weird. I have more sympathy for how TJ lost his belt than I do Cejudo. Or, the owed thing. Because TJ, while what he did was stupid, he wasn't trying to get out of the sport. Cejudo decided he was done, but is now kind of interested in coming back. But MMA is a wheel. It doesn't stop. You know what I mean?
No.
You decide you want to go away, but you come back, 2-3 years later, and, you're not the top guy anymore because you've been gone for however long, but you can't really be like, well, I think I deserve this because, however many years ago, dude, there's been a gajillion new fighters on the roster. There's a gajillion new guys that weren't around when you were here that are making their name. I don't love it. I think it should almost be a prerequisite for these guys that step away unless they are just giant money like Khabib or GSP.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? GSP, those types that they should have to get a comeback fight that is not for the belt.
I guess if Sean's win over Petr Yan was more decisive, I would maybe lean towards that way, but since there was so much controversy with how the judges scored it, I think the smart thing to do would be to do a Sean and Cheeto rematch.
Okay.
To get the next shot at the title.
Okay.
And have Aljo and Cejudo fight each other first.
I wouldn't mind that.
I think that makes sense for the division.
I wouldn't mind that, but I'm trying to put myself in Dana's shoes as best as I can. Cheeto versus Sean could potentially be the largest gate you sell from Bantam.
Yeah.
I would not mess around and put that as a non-belt fight. I would try to keep those two as separate as possible until there's gold on the line. You make that your headliner, and you get real pay-per-view money from Bantam, which is something you've struggled to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, like, a bantamweight, unless the bantamweight championship fight is with Sean O'Malley in it, the title fight will most likely be a co-main, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of get that main event to sell, And if you, honestly, there's a rare pay-per-view where there's a non-title fight headlining, and I think a Sean versus Cheeto headliner for one of those rare pay-per-views where you don't have a title fight on it could kind of play out.
Yeah, I wouldn't dislike that. What about Sean versus TJ, Aljo versus Cejudo, and then let's go Cheeto versus Merab?
Cheeto?
Yeah, and then that way you set up Sean and TJ as the next title chance. Mm-hmm. Then you have them face off with whoever gets that belt, and then whoever wins between the winner of TJ and Sean and then Aljo and Cejudo fights Cheeto or Merab.
Well, Aljo will never fight Merab.
Oh,
they're
true.
Teammates.
Well,
but
he has to
when
take...
Aljo moves up to 145, then...
I mean, yeah, he might not even be there for that. Like, you might...
I think the way he made it sound in his post-fight presser, I think he has max 2 fights left at bantamweight.
Right, so let's say he beats Cejudo, and then let's say he beats TJ or Suga, and then moves up, then you get Merab versus whoever for the interim. Or, I guess, would be undisputed at that point. But... and you do it that way. You play it down the road so you don't have to risk that possibility, but you also play yourself into the possibility of Cheeto versus Sean, which is far and away the largest fight that they can make at that weight class. I don't know. I find it interesting. But I feel like we spent a lot of time on the Bantams when there is somebody else who we owe an apology to, quite frankly, because I don't know why we would ever doubt a Dagestani. Islam Makhachev came in and, I mean, neutralized what we have seen as maybe the most dangerous weapon in mixed martial arts to this point in Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean, well, you didn't doubt him. I did.
I said decision. Like, I doubted the fact that he could finish him.
That's true. I mean, yeah, what else is there to say about Islam? You said Islam is 70% of Khabib last week, and I think it's closer to 90.
You think?
Honest, after what happened.
I still sit at about 70, 80. And that's just because I think Khabib is that, like, let's say by some miracle Charles would have, snuck a right hand through there and put Khabib to sleep, or not Khabib, but Islam. If you call Khabib out and Khabib takes the fight, I think it's over in about 2 minutes because he gets you and just chokes you. It just puts you out. Like, I don't think Khabib would have let that get out of the first round.
We'll never know.
No, we won't.
We'll never know.
We won't.
Islam's champ, and this one was tough for me, like I said last time around, because I was and still am incredibly high on Islam.
Yeah.
I love him. I've watched him basically since he entered the UFC. And I guess picking Charles was more like a mental thing for me, where I doubted him so many times that I feel like this is just another case of, I'm doubting Charles Oliveira, but no, Islam is that guy.
You want to hear something funny? I doubted him in quite literally all 3 of his most recent fights from Chandler, DP, and Gaethje.
Yeah.
I text him in because I have a group chat of about 3 dudes that I know that watch MMA from back home. Mm-hmm. I text in that group chat. I said, guys, I am done doubting Charles unless he fights Islam Makhachev. Guess who he got that very next fight? So I had to make it 4 in a row. Had to. And that's strictly because who he's trained by and who he is and what we've seen from him. I don't care who he's been fighting. It's all translatable, and we saw that.
Oh, totally. And I mean, I don't know who in the lightweight division will remotely challenge him for the next several years.
It's Hamzat, right? Hamzat's supposed to fight him now. After he
at welterweight?
No, for the belt. Did you not see him get in this big scuffle?
Hamzat?
Yes.
Dude, Hamzat is a welterweight, bro.
Did you not see this giant scuffle?
I saw the scuffle, but he's not going to go... Hamzat can barely make welterweight. You think that dude is going to make lightweight?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. He's going to fight Volkanovski next, and while I love that promotional-wise for the UFC, I love Volkanovski, I just don't see him being able to go up and do anything to Islam that would be of note, to be honest.
No. And weirdly enough, he's going to get his best challenger that I think he'll have in his entire reign in his first fight.
Yeah.
And I think he mops the floor with him.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think, and I'm starting to get shades of Khabib because I think Islam probably holds the belt for about, 5-6 fights and then just says, you know what, I'm done. I'm not getting a challenge here. I'm going to go help train with Khabib and be with my brother and do this thing.
Well, do you think he would try and go up to welterweight?
No.
No?
I don't think the accolade is really what he wants. I think he just wants to establish that he is the best at his weight. And once he fully establishes that, he leaves.
Interesting. I mean, the thing is, like, that whole group of Dagestanis will just churn out another one that'll take the belt. Like, it's literally
Habib's
crazy.
Cousin, right, that fought earlier in the night.
Yeah.
Will probably be the next one.
He's a welterweight, though, right?
Right.
I think. But, that...
I'm just...
Not to
yeah,
get
that's
off track,
not... Yeah, that wasn't for strictly...
Umar
wait.
Nurmagomedov
Yes.
could potentially be a bantamweight.
That could be fun.
That could be fun.
But yeah, I wouldn't, being specific to the weight class, that would be funny if they just kind of said, you know what, lightweight is Dagestani country. And they just, as soon as Islam retires, they set up the next one to take the belt. And just for the next however long both those guys live, we just see them continuously churn out UFC champions. But
bottom line, Islam Makhachev is that dude.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one. I'm confident in saying there is no one in lightweight that can beat him.
So somebody asked me, is in that same group chat that I alluded to earlier, they said, who do you think could ever beat Islam? And I said, quite frankly, I don't know if that person's on the roster. I don't know if they'll ever be on the roster.
Right.
It seems like a situation where he retires with his belt, packs his bag, says, I'm done here.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And, I mean, because like I said, we could have seen Khabib move up. Khabib was dominant.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's what appeals to them. They seem very dedicated to their craft and wanting to do what they know how to do.
Yeah.
I think that the accolade for him was getting his hands on the belt. You saw the celebration. You saw how much that meant to him. I think he just keeps defending it until he gets tired of defending it, and he's gone.
Yep. I mean, that's how Khabib did it.
Yep.
So we'll see. I'm excited.
Quick, before we move on to the next one, I want to say a quick rest in peace to the Khabib return rumors, because Islam killed him.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
I don't think Khabib was gonna return.
No, but like I was getting tired of hearing about it.
It was fun.
Right, I was getting tired of hearing about it with every new champion we got at that division, and now that his quite literally his brother that isn't his brother has the belt, we will probably never hear about it again.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing.
It is, and I'm really happy because it just seems like Khabib is just like very at peace and like he just loves coaching now, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, dude, there was nobody happier when Islam won that belt than him.
That was so awesome to see. Like I wanted Charles to win just because of the way he fights and his whole story in the UFC, but man, dude, it kind of tugs at your heartstrings when you watch the reaction of Khabib after Islam won the belt. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a special thing. But while I would say that the way that fight came about was surprising, by far not the most surprising result on the card.
No.
Who replaced Bilal Muhammad? That was not Bilal Muhammad in that cage on Saturday against Sean Brady. That was absurd.
I was just stunned. I was stunned that that's how that fight went down. Zero grappling ever.
Yeah.
There's none. It was a slugfest from start to finish. And I feel like it was stopped a tad early.
Yeah.
It was stopped a little bit early. Sean was still standing.
But it's another one of those things that you can justify because he was just eating headshots for like 25 seconds, and his hands were coming down. He was just kind of on the cage, bouncing around. I get the call there. And regardless, if you want to let it run another 15 seconds, I don't see where Sean Brady gets out of that.
The thing is, there was only about 15 seconds left in the round. So that is what surprised me the most about the stoppage, is the fact that there is so little time left in the round where they can both kind of regroup, especially Sean, obviously. But regardless, That was crazy. That was unlike any Bilal Muhammad fight I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was, I just don't even know what to say.
Did he switch camps or something? Am I missing something there?
Well, I mean, he did train under Habib.
Yeah, but that wasn't Habib's style.
No.
You know what I mean? He didn't
But,
he didn't smother him. But yeah, I don't understand. It looked more like he was training with a true blue boxing camp.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That was another fight that we were both watching, and we were both just jaw dropped. We were speechless. We could not believe it.
We did good to not get off of the couch very often. We weren't those types of fans that a jab, right? A jab wasn't getting us off the couch. But when Bilal started landing, just out of pure shock, I was just like, oh, I have to stand up now.
Yeah.
That. It was so crazy. And we were saying that he was at risk of Curtis Bladesing himself.
Yeah.
And being told by Dana that he'd never get a title shot the way he fights. And then he comes out there and does that. It was absurd.
Good for him, though. I mean, he's been labeled also by us as boring.
Yeah.
And listen, the guy still has 16 decision wins, but
Israel Adesanya's boring now. It doesn't mean you're bad, but you get a tag.
He's had a lot of doubters in his ability, and to have a decisive win like that is really cool for him. And what do you think it would be next for Bilal? That's another interesting one.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about it. I'm still trying to process how he did that, to be honest with you. And to be honest, I'm more interested in what you do with Sean Brady after that. We've known Bilal to be kind of in that tier of fighters, because he's not going to get a belt fight next, but he's going to get another step up and get another pretty solid ranked opponent. What do you do with Sean?
I think, because Sean's still relatively young, fighter-wise, I would see what he does against Luque.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, Bilal beat Luque.
He did.
I'd like to see if Sean can do something special after his first loss of his career.
See, yeah, because you got to be careful, because you're going to play yourself into Edmund Shabazian territory if it messed with him mentally. But also, you can't protect guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got to be able to show that they are resilient. You can't just put them in there against whoever. You can't just, you can't call up what was that kid's name? Moutinho? The kid
Moutinho,
Chris Moutinho? Yeah. You can't just call up one of those guys and say, go get hit in the face for 25 minutes. But yeah, you can't give dudes paydays for that. But there's a lot from that fight that I can't really decipher yet.
Right.
I need to go back and rewatch that 5 times to fully understand what I was watching.
I would have liked to see it go to the ground just to kind of
see who was where.
Yeah, to see. But for Bilal, I would like to see Bilal fight Colby, to be honest.
Colby never takes that.
And I feel like Colby won't take it. I feel like it's most likely that Colby is going to fight Hamzat next, which will still be
I still don't think Colby takes that. Why would you?
I mean, Colby is not going to get another title shot.
No, but he's a certified moneymaker, and he can fight Jorge when he gets back.
And Hamzat is going to make a lot of money. But if Colby wants a prayer at getting another title shot, he's going to have to take on the hottest guy in the division.
Is that something you think bothers Colby? I think Colby versus Gilbert.
Colby versus Gilbert would be fun. Gilbert versus Bilal would be fun.
Yeah. Gilbert versus Bilal would... Yeah. That's what I want to do.
I think that we should be matchmakers.
Yeah. Gilbert versus Bilal. Because I had to pull it up because I was trying to think... Because, dude, I get... with all these weight classes, it just bunches up in my brain.
Yeah.
Especially after a fight card, when you're, trying to matchmake and you're like, wait, is this guy this weight or this weight? When we were talking about Hamzat, I remember that he wasn't in lightweight, but I couldn't remember if he was one below or one above because all the names also run together to me. It makes it sound like I'm a casual fan, but it's just because I'm dumb. But no, I don't think Colby takes that. I could see Colby versus Wonder Boy.
That's so lame.
It is, but
that's so lame.
Colby wants money.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Hamzat is going to make money, at the same time give him at least an opportunity to have another title shot.
Okay, let me change how I'm wording that. Colby wants money against guys he knows he can beat.
That is fair.
Can he beat Hamzat?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Why would he risk? Because I mean, he goes out there like he already had his moment of getting shut up in that first Kamaru fight.
Yeah.
When his jaw got busted up and it was very symbolic. I don't think he goes out there for anything less than the belt and takes on a dude who he knows might put him to bed or do whatever. Like, that's too much of his image. So, you take a Jeff Neal fight, or you take a Gilbert fight, or you take a whoever, you wait till Jorge's out of prison or wherever he's at anymore, and you do that fight. Like, I don't see him taking that.
Well, that's why I said Bilal initially, though, is because I feel like that is a winnable fight.
Yeah.
For Colby.
I think he does win that fight.
But I do not think that's going to sell a lot.
No. Like, that's a fight night card.
But it's absolutely a winnable fight for Colby. So it's...
Like, you remember Colby versus Tyron, whenever that was
Yeah.
the headliner of a fight night, or a UFC on ESPN or whatever it was? That's what that is. Like, that's not pay-per-view points. That's
No.
That's not main card anything. That's just you're fighting. You're the front of it. Was Jorge versus Colby on a pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Why did I just think that was a? Because it got 25 minutes.
Yeah. It was pay-per-view.
Was it the main?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why that sounds so weird to me.
I think that was back in March.
I don't know why that sounds weird to me. Whatever. I think because it was a 25 and non-belt thing that it's just kind of messing with me a little bit. And you don't normally see non-belt fights. But, yeah. I don't know how we got there. But Bilal, watching where he goes to and what Sean Brady does moving forward should be interesting.
He deserves a top opponent. I will say that. He deserves probably a top 3 welterweight at this point.
Yeah, and that's Marty, Colby, and Khamzat.
Yeah.
Bilal versus Khamzat?
Khamzat mauls him.
Well, Khamzat mauls everybody.
Yeah, but if that's what Bilal wants, that's what he should get. Or Burns is in that tier too. Gilbert Burns is in that tier.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's number 5 technically, but he is. Yeah. Okay,
right.
So let's move on. Beneil Dariush.
Yeah. That's a big dog win for me on Saturday. I did go a little dog hunting, and I think that was the only one that worked out for me because I took TJ and Charles Oliveira. Obviously, both lost, but Beneil, that was a big win, and he looked good, man. After a long layoff, we were watching that. He the first round looked like it was kind of Gamrot's fight. Yes. But the last two... And,
that left hand.
And I was just going to say, I wanted to talk about that left hand in the third round. Wow. That thing had some heat on it.
You know what I thought about after I left? Because I kept thinking about that. That was the thing that whenever I was going to work, I was thinking about. I was like, oh my God, that left hand. And that was 2 fights before. All I kept thinking was, man, I really want to see him fight Michael Chandler.
Well, listen, if Michael Chandler loses to my boy in November...
Even if he beats him.
If he beats him?
Yeah, even because, Beneil's number 4.
He's number 4 now?
Yeah.
Is he ahead of Chandler?
Mm-hmm. Chandler's 5.
Wow.
I've got him pulled up right now, yeah. It goes...
That's super interesting.
It goes Islam, Charles, Dustin, Justin, Beneil, Mike. So, Chandler beats Dustin. Beneil beats Charles? No, because you have to have a belt. No, because you have to have somebody fighting for the belt. But it's Volk, I guess, so you have time to fill that.
Yeah, so I think the fight to make at lightweight for a title contender is Beneil and Charles, because, well, I mean, the thing is, Dustin and Chandler feels like it should be.
Yeah, but neither one of those guys stand a chance.
Exactly is the thing, and Beneil was supposed to fight Islam. Mm-hmm. A couple times, and
got injured,
and he got injured, and it just feels like he is Charles might be the new gatekeeper of this division. It used to be Dustin Poirier, now it's going to be Charles Oliveira, and I think if Beneil, whoever can beat Charles, will get the title shots, unless Charles.
So here's my problem. Usually, I am very cool with a champ getting an immediate rematch. Or at least getting an immediate chance to get the rematch.
Right.
With how he got treated in that fight, I don't have any interest in seeing that get run back.
That's why I think he has to fight someone else.
Right, but what do you do if Charles beats Beneil?
You give him another shot.
You give Charles another shot.
You get max 2, and if Charles goes out there and gets starch again,
I don't like. I would. I just
that's
don't.
The thing is, this division is chock full of gatekeepers. Justin Gaethje lost a couple title fights. Dustin's lost a couple title fights.
Mike lost his moment.
Michael lost his yeah. So this top 5 is just guys who have lost multiple title fights.
So for how long it's going to take, build-up wise, for Islam versus Volk? I kind of like the concept of doing almost a 4-man tournament. Charles versus Beneil, Dustin versus Mike. Winners go, and then the winner of that goes to fight Islam. Because that way you're getting 2 fights between when Charles got manhandled, and it's not an immediate we have to see this again situation.
Yeah.
I would rather delay it, and maybe in the meantime, I don't know, you let Fiziev fight him. I do like
Fiziev. I think Fiziev is on the come up, and I think he could be a real problem in the division.
You go Volk. If he beats Volk, you go Justin, just as a prove yourself whatever fight. Or, you let Justin fight Gamrot or RDA or Fiziev or whoever, presuming he beats him. He fights Islam, and then you get to the winner of that tournament.
Yeah.
Kick it down the road. Yeah. Because if it's going to be Charles, and we've seen Charles dominate most of the guys we're talking about.
Yeah.
If it's going to be Charles, I'm just put some time between it.
Right. Let him get better. Work on the areas of game that he needs to. The reason why I say that it should be Beneil and Charles is just because Beneil is someone that neither of those guys have faced.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that would just make sense for hopefully kind of straightening out the division a little bit.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine to me. I just, like I said, my whole issue right now is trying to get Charles back in there, but this isn't about Charles. This is about Beneil, who looked very good and is about 1 fight away, maybe 2, from a title shot.
Yeah. And, I mean, it was impressive after the injuries and after the layoff that he went out and did that. And again, the right hand was insane.
It was a left, right?
It was a left hand.
Yeah.
I thought he loaded up on.
It was he had his back to the cage, and he was coming at him, and he just kind of uncorked a left. Yeah. I mean, I might be mirroring it, you might be mirroring it, but I'm pretty sure it was his left. Because I remember him falling back kind of on his right shoulder and then rolling.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All I know is that Gamrot dropped like a sack of bricks after that shot.
He woke up from hitting the mat.
Yeah.
If he would have landed a little softer, I don't know that he was awake. So we've spent a lot of time on these. You want to kind of burn through these last 4 that we've got to talk about, because we did predict them and they were notable. But Manon, I'm going to call her Manon because we heard about 18 different pronunciations. Yeah, we heard everything under the sun with her name. She got an establishing win.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good win for her. I mean, shocker, went to a decision. She's fighting with Katlyn Chookagian.
But it was a shocker because Katlyn didn't win the decision.
Yeah, that is true. But I think Manon won the last 2 rounds. Katlyn looked fairly decent in the first, but you could tell as the fight went on, Manon was kind of getting her groove. She was. Neither of these women were very accurate in their strikes. I think both of them were about 25 to 30%, which was...
Yeah, it was not pretty, but we didn't see it on the ground very often.
Yeah, no, didn't get on the ground. Manon did score a takedown in the 3rd round that I think secured it for her. But it was a good fight. I mean, when you're fighting against the number 1 contender in your division, you got to be careful. She was, and she did what she needed to do to win, and I think... She said after the fight that she wants 1 more before a shot at Valentina.
I always like when people do that. I always like when contenders are like, hey, I did just beat somebody really prolific, but don't rush me into this. Mm-hmm. I think that's very intelligent. I'm happy that she did that, but I am also very interested to see who they line up because she already beat number 1. What do you do?
I think they fight. I think Manon fights Alexa Grasso.
That could be fun.
That could be that again. Another stand-up fight. Alexa Grasso, I think, is a bit more of an exciting fighter rather than
yes. You don't have to be as poised, but you also do have to be careful. You don't have to be as worried about the points against Grasso.
Yeah.
So should be interesting.
And that would set up, I think, Tyler Santos and Valentina again.
Ooh. I wouldn't mind that.
Because the number one contender's out, right?
Right, like that was a good fight between those two.
Yeah.
So why not try it?
Yep, that would be fun. But congrats to Manon. You made me look good on that one, so thank you.
Okay, so you just said something about Manon setting you up right. The next one we're going to talk about, I got the point on that one.
Yep.
Krylov beating Ozdemir. That was a wild fight. I wasn't here yet for that one. I did go back and rewatch it tonight, or last night rather. Whoa.
It was super, not at all how we expected this fight to go. Because last time we were both saying that the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Volkan Ozdemir.
Right.
And the longer the fight went, the more Krylov was dominating. I think Ozdemir won the first round, and then Krylov won the last two. It was crazy.
And when you watch the first round, I felt like it could have been over about 20 times.
Yeah.
Just in the first 5 minutes.
Right?
I mean, it was bomb after bomb. Ozdemir just kept, I don't know what Krylov's problem was, but he came out like he didn't know how to fight. Like he was just running. He was trying to smash his head into him, and that's the way he wanted to win. But, it was a very weird role reversal from what we had said, because you technically had the philosophy right on how you thought the fight was going to go, but I had the correct fighter that did that philosophy. It was a very hodgepodge, weird matchup thing there.
But yeah, didn't want to go too much into it. It was a good win for Krylov. It'll be interesting to see who he fights next. And both of us were right on this one.
Yes.
Caio Borralho took care of business as we expected.
The Borralho thing wasn't anything different than what we thought we were going to see from that. I didn't even put any notes for this. It was what we said on the pod on the predictions.
Yeah, he did what he needed to do, won by decision.
Pretty standard.
It'll be hopefully he gets a ranked guy maybe next.
Maybe. I would like to see that, but I did take something interesting away from the Makhachev fight that we both did get right. I don't like how cocky he was.
I do like that.
I don't like it when you only have 8 wins.
Yes, but
because he was
but he's ran through every person that he's fought, and apparently he was really sick this week, and he went out and got the sub win, 3rd round, and I mean even if it went to a decision, it was clear it was going to be a 30-27.
It was undisputed there,
and now he's ranked.
I don't know. There was something that felt wrong. Because, I remember seeing he got a kick thrown at him, and he kind of sidestepped it. And then he did this little, where you put your hand above your eyes to, look out into the crowd to, see something. It was, it felt very odd to me. Whenever he gets some more notoriety, and I think that's good to build his brand, it came across very strange. Especially because he didn't, it took him to the 3rd round to finish him. He was winning the fight decisively, but it took him to the 3rd round to get it done. And he had some moments on the feet where he didn't look great. And I remember in the 1st round, he kind of got clipped with something, was running away, put his whole back towards his opponent, and then did a front roll. And I was like, what are you doing? That same guy was up celebrating and making jokes at his opponent. That's...
I don't know. I mean, we can't discredit Malcolm Gordon's ground game because he is pretty good on the ground, and I think that's why it took Makhachev 3 rounds to finish him.
No, yeah.
But, I mean, I guess I like kind of the cockiness and showiness. That's always fun, especially in the flyweight division, which is, I feel like a lot of casuals kind of overlook that division.
Yes.
And I think having a fun, young, upcoming guy in that will bring some energy to it.
Yeah, and if he would have been winning and not had those weird moments where it still looked like he lacked polish and really lacked awareness of what was going on in the octagon, I think I would have been all on board for it. But seeing those little bits and bobs of wait a minute, you're not really ready, but he was still acting, very, very, I don't want to say confident because confidence is a good thing, but cocky, for lack of a better term there, I don't know, that just kind of didn't match what I was seeing on the screen. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. He's ranked now, though, so the competition is most definitely going to step up. But that's pretty much all we got from covering the pay-per-view round last weekend.
And we got a barn burner for the fight. No, we don't. We've got 3 fights we want to talk about. We had 3 total that we looked at, and realistically, you could take 2 of these out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the headliner is going to be fun. I will watch that fight. That's going to be a great fight. But there's a couple others that we were somewhat interested in, right?
Like, yeah, for example, we can't talk about Sean O'Malley without talking about his son, who is fighting next weekend. Chase Hooper has a fight against Steve Garcia. I don't personally know just a ton about Steve Garcia. I watched some clips of like his best stuff, if you will. I wasn't just super impressed. He's lost by sub a bunch. Hooper wins by sub a bunch.
Yeah.
I think we can kind of see the game plan there.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Garcia, not a great UFC career thus far. He's 1-2. He is a veteran of Bellator, though, which, you know, he's seasoned for sure. But his last fight in the UFC was to another young fighter, Makhachev, who I believe is 22. He lost to.
Something like that.
And, yeah, Steve doesn't really have that much of a ground game. Chase does have a pretty good ground game. Chase is young, though. He hasn't really found his way in the UFC yet. He's 3-2. He's kind of alternated wins and losses.
It's because he's missing the chest hat and the rainbow dreads.
Yeah, once he gets that, he's gonna get a title shot soon. But I like Chase Hooper. I think he's well rounded. I think he has a lot of room to grow, and I think he's already shown a lot of growth. So yeah, I'm gonna take Chase Hooper. Shocker, double chance, 7 points.
Oh, double dip, Eisman. Let's go. Let's go. It didn't take long to hit this one. We do have variations on these last 2, though. The next one we want to talk about, Dustin Jacoby versus Khalil Roundtree. I'm picking Roundtree here just kind of, and I can't really explain it. There's just something about the chaos style that he fights that feels good to me against Dustin.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be a classic big boy matchup.
Yeah.
But these guys are probably going to stay in trade until Big Tree fall hard. But
yeah, Big Tree fall hard.
But yeah, so I'm going to take Jacoby. I think Khalil Roundtree has more power behind his punches, but he's definitely more susceptible to getting hit.
He's so erratic. He just kind of bounces around. I watched it live whenever it was happening, but I rewatched his last fight against Roberson.
Yeah.
The way that he was standing, his forehead was almost touching his chest. Like he was so squatted down. He looked like he was trying to hide from him. Granted, he was advancing and going forward. There's so much weird energy that Roundtree brings that I'm just kind of appealed to him in this matchup. But I definitely think the logical bet here is Jacoby.
Yeah, and here's why, because this is Dustin Jacoby's second stint in the UFC. His first was way back, probably 10, 11 years ago. He went 0-2 and then went out. And since he came back, he is undefeated in the UFC. He's 6-0-1.
Yeah. Since
he's come back. He is streaking. He's ranked. And I just think that is kind of tough to pick against when he's going up against someone who has kind of been inconsistent.
Yeah, very. But it's a weird situation because this feels like, like the classic look-over games in football and basketball and whatever. This feels like a look-over fight. It feels like a trap fight where Khalil Roundtree just comes out there and throws the most wild haymakers you've ever seen and clips Jacoby. And now all of a sudden this fight that looked like it was supposed to be more of a resume booster than it was to actually help him move up ends up giving Roundtree maybe a number by his name.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Roundtree's best bet to win this fight will be in round 1.
Yeah,
right.
I've got round 1 TKO, crazy slip, something or another, knocks him to the ground. He just jumps on and throws for dear life, and the ref pulls him.
Yep, and all I'm banking on is that Jacoby can weather the storm.
So, am I hearing double dip?
No, I'm just taking his money line.
Okay.
It's close enough where I'm just going to take his money line.
Okay. I hadn't even looked at the odds yet. I didn't know. I figured Roundtree would be a pretty hefty underdog.
It's closer than you would expect.
Really?
But what's even closer is the main event where it is essentially a pick'em. This one is gonna be fun. I'm actually super excited to watch this fight.
You can't hardly miss a Calvin Kattar fight.
No.
That's not something, like, if you are an MMA fan that, like, prides himself on actually watching, you don't have to watch the prelims and the early prelims for everything, but if you pride yourself on knowing the people you need to know and knowing the fights that are going to be good, Calvin Kattar is one that you always have to have circled.
Oh, yeah. His last several fights have just been straight bangers, like, and he's fought. The thing that I like about Calvin Kattar, and I will spoil this, I am picking against him, but I don't feel great about it because of the resume that he has. His 4 UFC losses were to Josh Emmett, which he got hosed.
Yeah,
he got hosed.
That was the incorrect call. That was closer to being a UD for Kattar than it was a split for Emmett.
Like that for me is parallel to the Sean O'Malley-Petr Yan fight type of.
Yeah, like to the level of how you felt it should have went the other way.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I don't personally
agree,
but you know.
But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So you got hosed against Emmett, fought Max Holloway, which is like, it's Max. Like,
right.
That's the very clearly second best featherweight. He fought Zabit.
Yep.
Lost.
But nobody beats Zabit.
Nobody beats Zabit.
And Zabit decided to just walk away and go be a heart surgeon or whatever it is.
Which, credit to him.
Yeah, he's saving lives.
Yeah. And his last loss was to Renato Moicano, which is, a little less of like a,
but that's still not a guy that...
But no, I'm after Moicano's fight against RDA, I have all the respect in the world for that dude. He is a dog.
He brings the fire. And that's something I wrote down. I said Kattar loses to killers, and it's because they take him all the way to the end. Fun fact, Arnold Allen has never seen round 4 or 5.
That's true.
He's never had to deal with that. Kattar almost exclusively deals in round 4 or 5. I think this fight screams Kattar either by decision or by 5th round TKO.
I don't know. The thing that I'll give Calvin Kattar the edge in striking for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I think the margin between him and Allen on the feet is very outweighed by the margin between Arnold Allen and Calvin Kattar on the ground.
Yeah.
Because Allen is he'll get you.
You have to stay up if you're fighting Arnold Allen.
He will get you on the ground. He's 9-0 in the UFC. That kind of speaks for itself. But again, he hasn't really fought the same level of competition that Calvin Kattar's fought. He did look good in his last fight against Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker is already halfway into the ground at this point.
I wish he would be good. Like,
I do too.
Like his first run whenever he was starting to come up in the UFC was electric.
Yeah.
But then after the Chandler fight, it has just been bad thing after bad thing, and then he went down to, what was that, Bantam?
No, he went from lightweight to featherweight.
Feather.
I think he's back at lightweight now.
He went somewhere crazy. I just remember, because I remember on Twitter, he was weighing in at like 132.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, there was this big whole thing where he said he could go down significantly. Like, just having to do stuff like that proves that you're not in the right mindset right now, and you're not figuring things out quite how you need to be. And maybe I have those weights wrong. But I do remember it being a extremely low number for how big he is.
Yeah.
I would love to say that Dan Hooker is a quality win right now.
It's not.
It's not.
It's aged super poorly. But, again, you can only fight the guys that are put in front of you.
Right. And you can only sign the contracts that slide in front of you as well. That's who he got. It's a good name.
Yeah.
It's not a good win.
It's a good name, not a good win. But regardless, Arnold Allen's 9-0 in the UFC. This is undoubtedly his toughest test. I just like I think he will be able to stand with Kattar and not be completely outmatched. Okay. And I think he will be. I think he'll take this fight to the ground. That's where he's going to do most of his damage. And I just feel like his all-around game, he has more tools to win. And so I'm going to take his money line and basically pick him. So,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
And I can definitely get, like, if Arnold wins, I won't be shocked. If Kattar wins, I won't be shocked.
Yeah.
Just quickly, we didn't do, like, predictions or anything for these, but I do want to run through the rest of at least the main card.
Yeah.
Just to let them know what's coming up. You've got in the co-main Tim Means versus Max Griffin. You've got Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Jared Vondrah. Josh, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Fremd.
Josh Fremd.
Fremd? Yeah, versus Trayshawn Gore. I do know Trayshawn.
Yeah, I do know Trayshawn.
He was
he was tough.
Yeah. Or was he tough or was he DWCS?
No, he's tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that kind of fills out the main. And then you have one of the guys I actually genuinely love watching fight, Phil Hawes. He's got a fight against Roman Dolidze.
Oh, Phil Hawes is exciting. Yeah.
You got an old guy battle, Arlovsky versus Delima. It's the card's fine. Like it's not nearly as bad as the one we.
It's not the worst fight night card that I've ever seen.
It's not even the worst fight night card of the last 2 fight night cards.
That's true.
Like comparatively, this one is good.
Yeah. I think losing the Royval and Askarov fight really hurt the last one.
Yeah.
I was super excited to see that.
Yeah, that was going to be special. But yeah. So if you are interested in that, you can feel free to catch it. We will recap any. Yes. We will be recapping what happens with that one next week, and then talking about the card that follows that up, which is what? Oh, did they move Bryce versus Topuria?
Bryce and Topuria.
So now it's Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos.
And I think that'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one for that's Bantamweight, right?
Yeah. I haven't moved. No, it's draw.
Strawweight.
I haven't looked at this card yet. I like to take it 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
Beyond that fight, it's really not pretty either. You've got Neil Magny versus Daniel Rodriguez. Nathan Manis is fighting. Prelim. Yeah, this is not a pretty card. Hopefully they bolster it a little bit, but we'll see. Because there's also only 7 fights listed on it right now.
Interesting.
So something's got to be coming.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Who knows? But all right.
We'll
you got anything else you want to say?
Well, you had an idea last week. That
I forgot about this. Sorry, that is completely on me. I completely spaced. Yeah. So what we're gonna start doing is to because sometimes we're discrediting fighters, or it's got to be something negative, how somebody performed or whatever. So an easy way to lighten up the show before we leave, we've got fun little questions that we want to do. To kind of send it on its way. This first week is, if you were an MMA fighter and you were choosing your walkout song, what would your walkout song be? Now, Alex, I want you to lead this off. You know my answer. I'm going to let that wrap, but I do want to be surprised. Do you have a list as far as I know?
It was tough for me to pick just one, so I just went and picked 3. I did a little 3 walkout song kind of lineup, in no particular order.
Okay.
I'm a metal fan.
Okay.
So one of them is Bulls on Parade.
Yep. Yeah.
But with respect to Rage Against the Machine, I'm a huge fan of Denzel Curry.
Okay.
And he did a awesome cover of that song that I think I would want to have as my
potentially
walkout.
use there.
I think it's just a little more like turned up. Denzel's like screaming. I mean, it's good.
It's good.
But I love both versions.
I haven't heard Denzel's cover of it. I'll listen to it whenever I'm driving back.
Yeah, it's worth a listen. I love both versions though. Love Rage Against the Machine. Next one, also a metal band, and this one's a good one. I got "Kickstart My Heart" by Motley Crue. Imagine walking out to that.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be awesome.
That would be very good.
That's just like a classic. That's just a classic song.
Yeah. Gets you pumped up,
right?
That'll do it. That or Livewire.
Yeah, Livewire would also be hype. I would be with that.
Livewire would be very, very cool. But
and
no,
really any Motley Crue song would be good. To be honest,
you've got very few of their discography that wouldn't work as an MMA walkout song.
And then this last one, little controversial, not because of how good the song is, but because of the troubles that have been facing this artist.
Michael Jackson?
Kanye West.
Oh, dude, no. Kanye's insane, but he's still an insane.
He's
great music artist.
He's a great musician. Do not condone literally anything that he does or says, or probably will for the foreseeable future.
No,
but
he's gonna run for 24.
Undeniable is that he has, outside of maybe the last couple of years. Back in the early 2000s and 2010s, he's put out some great music. This one's off my favorite album of his. It's Power.
Ugh.
And I mean, again, it's just like another one where,
Dude, I was sitting here because when you said controversial, I was like, is this dude about to say Thriller or something? like what is he about to say? Billie Jean? Is my man about to walk out to Billie Jean on his fight night?
No, Power by Kanye.
I think that's a respectable list, though.
Yeah,
You've got different eras. You've got different styles. It really just depends on, because obviously you have to make a brand for yourself, so it just depends on what brand you do end up rolling with, because the music very much matches who you are going to be in your press conferences and who you are in your fights and everything.
No, I mean, and I'm a huge music fan. I mean, we're sitting in my apartment with 20-some records hanging up on my wall. Like,
You do.
It's
A lot of variation across here, too. You're seeing Kids See Ghosts. You're seeing Tame Impala. You got some Luke Combs over there, Pink Floyd. I see it over there.
We got it all, man.
You do.
We really do. So, yeah. It was just very tough for me to pick one, so I decided to give a couple, but I know you have one and you're sticking right to it.
Yes, so, and I had mentioned it to you, this is something I have thought about, like, because it was something I was actually thinking about on a drive back that I was making from work, that, like, sometimes music will just come on on the radio or through my Spotify or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, that would make for an excellent walkout song, and this song has been one of, if not my top choice for a very long time, if I were to ever do it. So it is Life in the Fast Lane by Eagles.
Life in the Fast Lane.
Yep, and funny that you did that part. It's very funny that you did that part, because while this does come with a little bit of a caveat. So while I'm still trying to make my name, you would play the song with that part included. Whenever I get to a status that is of championship level, of some notoriety, of some value, you have them kill that part in the song, and the folks in attendance sing the Life in the Fast Lane part. So you get that crowd involvement, you get that atmosphere, and plus that would be a hell of a scare tactic for opponents, because they're standing in there, and even if they're not cheering for you, all they hear is the crowd scream that part of the song, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? That's just one of those that could hit.
No, great song. I love the Eagles. Life in the Fast Lane.
I've seen them live. I've seen them perform that song live.
Super jealous of.
Yeah, we saw that about a month and a half before COVID hit. So we saw like one of their last concerts of what was supposed to be their retirement tour. I do believe they ended up coming back to finish that out. But regardless, very special. That was my first concert.
God.
At 18, 19 years old.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Me and my dad. My dad's the reason I'm a big Eagles guy. So that was definitely the reason I got pushed into that. But hey, man, I'm very thankful for it. We'll say that much. So yeah, that kind of concludes everything I got.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna let me plug the college football.
No,
pod
you're welcome to. First, how about I plug our own podcast?
Yeah, do
next
it.
week. Yeah. So next week we'll.
How dare you take away from my plug to plug the thing we're actively working on? Shame on you.
But no, next week we'll talk about this upcoming fight night. We'll talk about the following fight night. Maybe get a little preview of the next big pay-per-view card, possibly.
We could also do something along the lines of where you would like to see, certain fighters go. Guys that we don't currently have anything booked for. We bring 3 dream fights to the table. We each have to discuss ours. Maybe make it a surprise.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with that.
Since we're having bad luck with cards, it's not just perfectly beautiful. We got to add some gimmicks, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be one-on-one sometimes. Sometimes you got to add a ladder to things.
No, we will. We'll do that. I'm sure we'll have another fun little segment or two at the end for you guys next week. But besides that, we'll be back. We'll be back next Wednesday. We will be, and quickly, I'll make sure to throw a link into it, to the description as well. If talking about MMA got you really excited to talk about college football, boy, do I have the deal for you. I also do a college football pod. Surprise, surprise. The last episode came out on Tuesday. Next one comes out on Thursday. I've been not great at doing predictions for those. I just went 2 for 10 this week. Yeah, it's pretty great. But if you're interested in hearing me sound like even more of a dumbass than you already get to during this podcast, feel free. Again, link will be in the description. But that is it from this one. See you next time. Next week, we'll be back, baby. We will be.